All right. All right. Uh-huh. Good evening. Good evening, Facebook Live. Good evening, Facebook Live. How's everyone doing this evening? So, welcome to another episode of the Brandon Robertson Soul Hour, episode 22. So now, I would like to go ahead and introduce my very, very, very special guest. She is a native coming from the Colorado area, specifically Denver, but she is recently relocated to the San Francisco area. She's a professor of jazz voice at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. She is also a member of the Prestige Grammy Recording Academy. She's a 2018 recipient of the Bay Area Jazz and Blues Lifetime Achievement Award. She's a singer, a recording artist, a touring artist, an educator, a political activist. I mean, she has a multitude of titles, everyone, that I am so honored to cover. And I'm only speaking about the one and only, the lovely, talented Miss Clairdee. I am super happy to have you on the show. Oh, there she is.
Hey. Thank you for the invitation to join you, Brandon. It's my pleasure.
Thank you for first of all being here this afternoon, because it's probably daylight where you are, and
it will be dark for about an hour, and then yeah, it'll be dark.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to ask you, because you're now in the California area, and I've interviewed a few people from that's over there where you are right now. What's the weather like? Is everything calmed down now with the wildfires and all that?
So far, so good. We actually even had a little bit of rain on Sunday, and I thought, ooh, the winds have changed. We've been getting rain to clean things out.
Yes, it's funny because of the timing of everything. Like, when it comes to kind of wash things away, we kind of do a good cleansing. So that is wonderful. Well, first of all, like I said, thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me on my show. I was very excited when Carmen Branford, our dear friend, when she put us, she connected us to. And so Carmen. Her. I hope Carmen is watching. If you're watching, Carmen, thank you so much. We love you. So, well, let's go ahead and jump right in. And so, for those who are watching, everybody, I'm kind of in awe right now. I'm trying to stay calm.
Oh, come on.
We got to talk a little bit before the show, but I'm just a little excited right now. So I'm gonna try to stay as calm.
You. We're all the same. We all just happen to be doing good things. We get to do music.
Exactly.
I mean, I think. What better job is there? Really?
There isn't a better job. I don't think I've worked, the last time I worked a regular job was, I can't even remember the last time I worked. This has become my regular job, is doing music. So let's take it back some. So when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that you grew up in the Colorado area. So particularly
in Denver. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what was life like in the mountains? Because the altitude in Denver is quite high.
Yes.
So if you've never been there before, it's it's
gonna take you a minute to get used to
the breathing. Yeah. So what was life like in Denver?
It was fun. It was just my parents and their youngest 6 kids. The 2 older daughters, they were already grown up and had families, and they lived elsewhere. But it was fun. So we really had each other to rely on. We didn't have cousins nearby or aunts and uncles. But we had a good time. We had a good education. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that was weird for us was snow, because we didn't grow up in snow.
Right.
My parents are from the South. My father from Florida, my mother from Georgia. And they were used to warm weather, and except when my dad was in Greenland. That's a whole nother thing. That was the only, I'd say, the negative for me, because my parents didn't grow up in the snow. If there was one flake that fell from the sky, you guys got to stay home from school. What? So there was no learning how to ice skate or going sledding or anything like that. So I vowed that when I became an adult, I was not going to live anywhere where it snowed.
But doesn't it
Check.
kind of snow in California sometimes, or
In
maybe not with?
certain areas, but not in San Francisco. That's a very, 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 very rare thing.
Right. Okay,
You can
so
drive to snow if you want it bad enough.
that
It's
yeah,
close enough.
the mountains up there to ski, yeah,
That's
they
right.
are close enough. So growing up in Denver, was there a music scene there like for you when you was there like what kind of music was growing up? What kind
Well,
of music did you grow up around? Like I should say.
everything. First of all, my mother played piano, sang in the church choir, and she required that all of her children would sing in the church choir and
Hmm.
the school choir. And each one of us had to learn how to play an instrument.
Oh
And my
wow.
instrument, I started off playing violin. And then when, excuse me, the next year they didn't have enough violists, I signed up. I love that instrument. I still have one. You notice I say I still have one. I
Right.
don't play one. I
It's a
still
good
have
display.
it.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
listened to all kind of music. My father was really more into, well, I have to say he was really into everything. Pop. He loved Elvis Presley.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I said. But anyway, he loved
Really?
Elvis Presley, but he also was into Ahmad Jamal and a lot of jazz. And my mother was mostly into gospel. She liked Motown and all that, that stuff. She liked to watch us dance and sing to it.
Hmm.
But we heard everything. And I listened, of course, a lot to classical as well because I was playing in the orchestra.
Who
And
were
as far as you
were
mean, as far as outside of our family, what the music scene was
sure.
like. Well, by the time I was old enough to get out there and sing, okay, wait, let me back up. When I was in high school,
Hmm.
I'm always singing, and I had three really close friends who also sang, and we formed this a cappella group. It was three girls and a guy. We made our own outfits. We called ourselves, and don't laugh, the Majestics, because we felt like
Majestics.
royalty, you know?
I like
And
that.
we were
I
doing,
dig.
it was fun. We were doing things back then. I mean, I was in, I think I was a junior at the time.
Hmm.
We took whatever the popular song was of the day, and instead of doing it the way the record had it, we would rearrange it and sing four-part harmony.
Oh
And
wow.
this is all a cappella, and I don't mean doo-wop kind of
Just like
harmonies.
blending harmonies and
Yes,
oh, that's
and
dope.
we ended up winning a lot of contests because of that, because we were different, and we had the choreography down, we had the clothes, we had everything, everything, and so it wasn't until probably when I had graduated from college that I really spent a lot of time on the music scene to see who was playing what and when
Hmm.
and how.
And did you go to school in Colorado, or did you branch out once you finished high school?
No, I wanted to. I wanted to. I had two of my top choices I wanted to go to. It was
Hmm.
either Howard University or
Okay.
Spelman. And my
Okay.
mother said, "You're staying right here in Colorado." And I was only 17 when I had graduated from high school. So I
Okay.
couldn't sign any papers, saying, "Hey,
Right.
I'm." And so I went to the University of Colorado in
Okay.
Boulder on full
Boulder.
scholarship.
Oh wow. Okay. And so,
I like to study. What can I say?
man, you better than me because when I went to Florida State, my undergrad was. I tell my students, current students, and my undergrad students, I
Mhm.
say, I have no clue how I finished undergrad. Like all my music classes,
Mhm.
solid. But
Uh-huh.
my academia
The academic.
classes, that was a different story. Like professors were like, Brandon, you need to come to class. I mean, I know you do well on the book, but you gotta come to class.
And
I'm like,
show up.
but I'm in the practice room, man. I gotta, the teachers are expecting us to come in my lessons prepared. So yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it. I wanted to ask you, I wanted to backtrack for a second about your parents. Did your parents ever, or you? I know your mom encouraged you to learn
Excuse me.
instruments and to join the choir. Was that your introduction into wanting to do music, or was it something that you kind of found on your own? Because you know, when you have parents who love music are introducing you and immersing you and fostering you into that element, you can kind of either be pushed into it or it could just naturally happen on your own. So
Oh
do you
no,
think did
I
it?
loved it. I loved it.
That's
We
awesome.
have my older sister. She was in charge of keeping the rest of us in line, and we were literally like stair steps.
Okay.
And so she played accordion, she played guitar, she played ukulele, and she
Wow.
taught us all these songs that we had to learn, and she taught us how to sing them in harmony. And then she put together, helped us put together a 15-minute program
Oh, that's
that
cool.
then we took to convalescent homes and churches and hospitals, and we performed. And I remember I was about 6 or 7,
Wow.
just watching the faces and the smiles on these people. They were enjoying it so much. Right then, I said, "This is what I'm doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
This right here." But I've done many other things, but I never stopped singing ever.
So what helped you make the transition to the California area? In when we were talking earlier, you made that transition in the mid '80s, and what was that like? Because I can imagine California in the '80s. Like if I had to just be like blunt, I could just imagine Studio 51. Like I could just picture it, like
Well, see,
what the scene was like.
that's a whole different reality than what I experienced because I was married at the time to someone who was in the Air Force, and we were stationed at Travis Air Force Base. And
Ah,
because
okay.
he had been in the military band, the Air Force band back in Omaha, which is a whole nother story, lots of things to say about that.
The Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, 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 okay.
These guys knew that I sang. And so they would just hire me. I never had a problem getting a gig playing nightclubs around the Air Force Base, or even doing the NCO club or the officers club, and branching out doing weddings. And then that would lead me to meeting musicians in the Bay Area who would introduce me to other folks. And it was great.
Wow. So who
But
were
I've
some of
always
the?
done things on my own terms, though.
Oh, that's good, and that's and having that type of control and ownership too is very thriving, because especially when you're moving to a new area, you don't know
Right,
anyone. You're like, I
right.
got to make sure I know what I want at the end of the day. So who were some of the musicians that you came across once you got there and kind of helped you lead into your music path in California?
Many of them were Air Force musicians, but there were also folks like Eddie Henderson, the trumpeter, with whom I worked, a wonderful drummer, Jimmy Robinson, John Handy, Dr. Bill Bell. Uh, there's so many that they always saw something in me, and they knew I'm serious about the craft. It wasn't about anything else. Teach me. I want to know. I want to learn. And not just the musical side of it. I truly am an entrepreneur. I want to know, how does the business work? There's a PA system. I need to learn how to work that so I don't have to be dependent on other folks. So,
Man, that is a life lesson in its own. You can't, and that's something, you and I both being educators, that's something you can't teach sometimes in school, because it has to be a hands-on, like a very practical situation. So
right.
like for example, I create scenarios from my jazz combos. I have three combos, and I make them go book their own gigs. So in class, I teach them, here's how you write an email to a venue that you're trying to potentially
Good for
book.
you.
Here's what you say. Here's how you ask for a certain amount of money. Here's what you present in your EPK. Here's how you make an EPK, because you don't know what that is. Because since COVID, we've had to digitize everything,
That's true. And in case your
So
audience doesn't know, an EPK is
is
an
an
electronic
electronic
press kit.
press kit. Yeah. So
Save
we,
so much money.
man, and just like you said, being an entrepreneur in the music. So maybe that's a question that maybe you can address to the audience is, how did you figure out, because you're a singer, so you have a whole different approach of how you have to present yourself, because instrumentalists, we have foundations that we can center around. So, for example, like me being a bass player,
Okay.
I can showcase like here's my variety of styles I can do with pop and folk. With a singer though, it has to be the full package. So, like you said something that just was like very intriguing. I have this PA system. Do you know how many singers I've worked with that have brought in a PA system to the gig, and then
They want somebody else.
else to set it up, and I'm like, so you don't know how to set this up yourself? And they're
No.
like, well, that's just
No.
So how did you get to that point? Like, what did you have situations occur like trial and errors that you're just like, oh, I showed up to a gig and I had this PA and I didn't know how to work it, and then now the guy's like, yeah,
Oh, no.
what? Like, how did you get to that point where you were able to be self-efficient with everything?
I wanted to be. That's the difference. Some people don't want to do that. It's like, I just want to sing. Well, that's nice, but that's not reality.
Right.
So, and I always figured if I could learn how to do this thing, then I have a greater appreciation of the sound man, whoever's running sound. I can say exactly what it is I want to hear.
Right.
And they'll appreciate that. And,
Right.
I was starting to get gigs on my own with my own band. And of course, I needed a PA. So I knew someone who was selling JBL systems. And I asked him to teach me, to show me what is it that I need to know? What kind of microphone do I need? And he showed me how to do it. I had my own. It wasn't a huge system, but I had a little dolly that I put it on. I'd show up to the gig early, set it up.
Man, I've only been with one or two singers in my lifetime. Carmen was one of them. Like that I had that experience when I showed up to the gig and I was like, she's like, yeah, I'm good. You're set, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
done.
And what makes it even more impressive when they come with a book and they're like, here are my arrangements. That I'm like,
Hello.
what? Are you
Yes.
kidding me? Like I want.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. And in addition to a book, though, you're not just relying on these lead sheets. If somebody calls a tune, you can say, yeah, let's do it. Give them the key, count it off, and go. You have to be flexible. You really have to be flexible.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
sometimes you're in a place
Yeah.
where you don't have your charts with you.
Right. Yep.
You know?
Yeah. And how do
What you
you?
gonna do?
So what have you been in a situation where you were traveling and something happened and you're like, I gotta adjust, like I gotta kind of go on the fly here because
Oh, yeah. Well, I always keep my stuff with me. I'm very protective of things. When I'm traveling, when I'm flying, my charts are never in the checked baggage. It's with my carry-on.
Right.
And I always have an extra change of clothes in that carry-on in case that suitcase with my dress for the engagement gets lost or whatever.
Right.
But I remember only a couple of times I've gone to gigs where, big gigs. And at the last minute, they'd say, hey, we want you to lead this session. And you got to talk about this person. I'm thinking, what? This is at rehearsal. And I think, okay, that's fine. And so what I do, instead of taking a break like everybody else, I'd go to my dressing room and I would Google information. And I'd have these little 3x5 index cards, and I'd write a few things down. So when I got on stage, it looked like I knew what I was talking about.
Right. No, hey, man.
You have to just roll with it. Period.
Roll with it. What are some of the before I wanted to get into two more topics, but before I do that, what was some of the life lessons passed down to you by other seasoned musicians who you've had the chance to work with or have looked up to that have given you information that you can now harness and share with the next generation? What was some things that was passed down to you?
The first thing that comes to my mind is Nancy Wilson. I've always, been in love with this woman's voice and with just the way she presented herself. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that not only would I get to meet her several times, but that she and I would end up with the same manager.
Oh, wow.
She and I were John Levy's very last clients.
Bass
And
player.
yes, bass player.
Yeah.
And through my association with John, I got to know her better, and she
Wow.
became a mentor. And one of the things I will always remember, she said, "To thine own self be true."
Mm.
You're not trying to be like anybody else. Do what somebody else is doing. It's not a contest. You just have enough confidence in yourself and your skills. And if you're working on your skills, what are you worried about? Be
Oh, man.
yourself.
What a... That's
That's a
heavy.
gift. Yeah.
That's heavy, man. I
Just be
actually,
yourself.
you know, one thing about what I learned when we did a Nancy Wilson tribute show at the Gen
Mm.
Conference with
With
Carmen
Carmen, yes.
back in January.
Yes.
So the selections that Carmen had picked, she had a story for each of these selections, which was beautiful for me to know because in rehearsals with her, she's giving me like the real intel of like her interactions and her time spent with
Hmm.
Nancy, and I was like, man, this is like heavy information because this is a lot of the stuff she was telling me. I would have never even probably known about like like in school. Like I wouldn't have learned
Hmm.
about that in jazz history or
Of
I
course not.
wouldn't know that stuff. So it's, I mean, just to be in that space with someone like her, I can't imagine you just soaking it in. Like, I don't want to ask you nothing. Just let me soak it in.
Yeah, oh yeah. And see, that's, I think what part of my uniqueness is I am an observer.
Hmm.
Throughout my life, I've never, tried to latch onto somebody and say, "Teach me everything you got," because I'm just naturally curious anyway. But
Right.
I would always observe people's behavior and what they're doing. And I'd learn a lot just observing,
Hmm.
just by doing that. And then once they feel comfortable with me, then I feel like I can ask a lot of questions and,
Sure.
get a little more personal with them.
Sure. Sure. Well, to go into the more personal attribute, I saw that you were given a Lifetime Achievement Award, the Bay Area Jazz and Blues. Like, so is that like a tradition that the San Francisco area started, or how did that come about? What
There
did that?
is a group called, well, Bajaba, blues and jazz artist. And African Davis he's a wonderful radio announcer here and just a huge jazz aficionado. And he started this program several years ago.
Hmm.
And he just always so gracious. He notices the people who are in it, just in the community, who are making music, mentoring. And I was surprised. He, invited me to do a gig. I get to the gig, and then they presented me this award. I didn't even know I was going to get it. But yeah, it's just honoring those of us who have put in some time here in the Bay Area, and hopefully we're all still giving back to the community.
And what is something that you feel that you've shared and contribute to make them lead to have led them to present you with this? Like, what is something you feel that you are honored and happy about, and proud of, to contribute to the San Francisco area?
I'm me. I am always going to give of my time. If someone has a question of me,
Hmm.
how did you do this? Or can you tell me who I can call? Or how can I, it's, to me, it's just extending myself, which is
Sure.
what my parents taught us to do. Just being gracious. If you guys need something, if I am able to provide that information, I'm happy to do that.
For sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Wow. And so being someone who is recognized in your community for your musical attributes, there's also the community activist side of it, in which I know you're very much a part of. So what are some of the things that you're involved with in the Bay Area on that end? Because I remember originally we were scheduled to do the show last week, but you were
right.
like, Brandon, that is my time.
No, it's
I am
the
here.
election. I'm
Elect-
going to be going. I
Yeah,
don't want to
so
be distracted.
no, I get it now, but I thought that was very unique because I was like, wow, she's the first guest I've had that like made it very clear, like I do this, and which I thought was really hip. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's all right. I will admit, Clairdee, I am not someone who's politically driven. I've tried to stay in my lane, which is music. I'm very good at music, but me talking about politics, it's a lot of headache. It's a lot of stuff I gotta read on to figure out, right? But
I understand.
Because of this past election, it made me, my wife and I actually started to read stuff together, and we tried to educate ourselves more. The common mistake that I can admit this as an adult, that what I made, I voted for the wrong reasons in 2016. I voted because I wanted to prove a point. I didn't vote because I needed to make a change. That was something I regret, and I don't have really a lot of regrets in life. But that was something after through this last election, I realized the mistake I made. And you can't vote just because. Like, I know if you have the right to vote, that's one thing. You have the right and the and the opportunity to. That's your freedom. But if you're going to do it with the intention and the purpose of knowing why it is that what are you voting for?
What it is.
What it is, exactly. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's, for me, it was a no-brainer because my parents were very active in politics. I can tell you, when I was in first grade, we had to sit down, all of us, and watch Meet the Press.
Oh, wow.
We were required to watch the news. My parents read newspapers every day so they would know what was happening and they would be informed. And they would read to know, not to follow along with someone else, but, well, how does this affect me and my community, my job, what I'm trying to do, my family? They were very, very informed. So I grew up with that. And so as an adult, I just carried it on. And my son seems to be the same way. But to me, when we say politically active, our music can be political without saying anything. And I don't believe in voting for a particular person or party just because they're in this party. Right. What do you stand for? And are you going to best represent my interest and the interest of the community? Sure. Just because you say you're this party or that, affiliated with this other person, that doesn't necessarily make it right or make it work. So when we do our music, whatever we're playing, it informs our audience who we are.
And is this something that you've been doing even prior to this whole election?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, just something that's part of you that.
Yes. Now, this particular song, Stand Up, that was written by a very, very dear friend of mine who also happens to be a fantastic bassist in New York. His name is Marcus McLaurin, and the lyrics were written by a wonderful singer, Kiva Singletary, Youngblood. Okay. And he had given me this song, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Oh, and wow. He was going to shop it to somebody. I said, no, I know exactly. Don't you dare give this to anybody else. I know what I want to do. And the whole intention of doing that particular song was not for this particular election. It's about just being involved, period. Right. Stand up. If somebody needs some clothing, somebody's hungry, feed them, clothe them. Let's help each other out. It's about civil discourse. Sure. But you got to stand up and let people know what you're all about.
Right. And I love the song, by the way. Myself and my producer Adam, we were listening to it, and I was just like, man, it's a jam. Also, to randomly throw something out there, I saw you and I have a common friend, a mutual friend, and I think he was singing in the video or in the song or in the video with you, Mr. Tony Lindsay.
Yes.
So
that is Tony Lindsay.
So Tony, who, by the way, for those who are watching, Tony Lindsay was the frontman for Carlos Santana.
Yep.
And
for many years,
a monstrous singer. Oh. and I got to perform with him. We did a week-long clinic in Texas City, Texas. We performed for about 35 to 4,000 students in that area. And Tony rocked the whole place down. We did this
He
whole
is unbelievable.
yeah, we did this Santana medley that he and Wally Miko, he who's a pianist player that was playing with us, who Wally is like a fun, like his the way he thinks and he plays is like that whole week was just like I was a kid. I was one of those kids that's like, do I deserve to be here? Do I deserve to
Yes, you
be
do.
in this
That's why you
company?
were there.
Oh my God, the musicians that were, the musicians that were with me, Brad Laley, out of
Oh
North Texas,
yeah,
who
yeah, yeah, yeah.
played with Beyonce. Like I was just
Uh-huh.
like, Jesus Christ, But Tony, what I loved about him, the reason why I'm bringing his name up when I saw him in that video, but when I'm bringing his name up because I asked him very specifically. I said, "Man, how did you go night after night singing with Santana?" He said every single night was like a new chapter in a book. I
I
would
love
open
it.
it and you don't know what to expect. You just kind of go down and you flow and that was
Go
every
with the
night.
flow.
And I said, man, but he's like just the way his showmanship and the way
Yeah.
he presented himself in that show. It was something I had never been exposed to. So I just wanted to. I saw that video. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool that you guys are friends. So
You
I
know,
want.
there's so much great talent here in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
Amazing. It's a gold mine of talent. And I knew
Man,
when I was gonna do this song, I knew exactly the three people I wanted to have sing with me.
yep,
Kenny
you got it.
Washington, Janice Maxie Reed. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, we gonna get it. No, we gonna get into the music, everybody. We're having a little fun here. We gonna get into the music part for Clairdee in a second. Let me tell you, Mr. Kenny Washington,
Yes,
Kenny. Man, okay. Can I tell you this really quick story?
please.
Really quick story. I'm not gonna bore my audience here, but I gotta tell you this quick story. Uh, he came and did a show with us last year down in my area. He's really good friends with my close bandmate that I play with down here, Dan Miller. He's a trumpet player. Dan Miller played with Harry Connick Jr., Maynard Ferguson, Jazz at Lincoln Center. He's a heavy cat in the jazz community, and especially in the trumpet world. Anyways, Dan and Lou Delgado, who's a saxophonist down here, who played with the Saturday Night Live band for over like 25 years.
Wow.
They have this jazz concert series that they started down in Naples, Florida, and Kenny came and did a performance with us. And actually, he's coming back. I think in December, in a few weeks, he's coming back down
I
here to do a
love
show.
it. I
But
love it.
man, I saw Kenny. Kenny walked up. He had this suit on. I'm looking. I'm like, he kind of just, he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh man, you a little guy, man, you cool, And when he started singing,
Knocked you out, didn't he? Yeah.
I said, Dan, I was not expecting that. He said, don't worry, brother. It gets better. It gets better. And then, I mean, he had those people up out their
Yeah.
seats. They kept
Yeah.
saying, encore, encore. And I'm on stage
Yeah.
like, bro, I'm so tired. I'm ready to go home. We've been playing for... But them people kept asking more because Kenny was
I
great. So,
love it. Oh, he is amazing.
yes.
He
So
is.
you
He
have
is.
picked the right... That is funny that all the three of you... I hope we get to work together one day because that's
Oh, we
like the
will.
two of
We
them were
will.
like amazing. So
We
really,
will.
really quickly, I just want you to briefly just give one synopsis of your album, A Love Letter to Lena Horne, and then I want to jump right into the music segment of the show. But what can people expect from this album?
It is a different kind of tribute album. It's not Lena Horne's greatest hits. I'm not trying to sing like Lena Horne. I told you I do things the way that feel right to me. And what it does, it honors Lena, the woman, and her civil rights activities and the various things that she had to go through. And the thing that's so interesting for me as far as being a jazz album, there's not one swing tune on the album.
Huh.
It just, the arrangements didn't lend themselves to that. And I'm very involved in arranging everything. But people will hear a little bit about who she is, and I think they'll enjoy the different type of presentation that it is. There's some spoken word in between the songs to not every song, but to give an idea of who this woman was.
Sure, sure.
I think you'll like it. I think, well, I know people will enjoy it. Um, we've got songs that most people didn't even know she sang. Every song on the album, with the exception of Stand Up, is something that she sang. We just changed it up so it's me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like that you took a thematic approach with this particular record, and a lot of people when they think of Lena Horne, a lot of people will associate her with her acting and what some of the things, the contributions she's made from that. But
Right.
a lot of my vocals, even my vocal students, a lot of them weren't aware that she was primarily known for singing, for her
Exactly.
singing. And so
Exactly.
that's really neat. And I'm going to touch back on it at the very end of the show.
Okay.
But what I like to do is, for everybody who's watching, I always ask my guests every week, I like them to pick 3 songs that will center around my 3 keywords that pretty much make up the whole premise of this show, which is life, freedom, and perseverance. And so each guest has to pick 3 songs that cater to one of those 3 keywords. It's very hard. All of my guests are like, how do I do this? You're asking me. These are my previous guest, Jeff Denson, which I don't know if you know
Oh, I
who
know
he is.
Jeff. Yeah.
Oh, Jeff was my old teacher from college. So
He's amazing
so,
also.
So I've lucked out that I got a good bass teacher. But Jeff, how he put it is my island picks, my desert island picks. He's like, Brandon, you put pressure on me. So I'm going to go kind of out of order. I actually want to start with your single. For freedom, for the word freedom, you chose your single Stand Up. And so I can kind of think of the obvious reasons why you might have chosen that. But what are your reasons? What is your perspective behind that? Yeah.
Pretty much what I had mentioned earlier. Nothing's going to change in life unless we stand up and make changes, intentional changes. And this song is all about that. You can't be free if you are not part of helping the solution, finding the solution. You're just part of the problem. So freedom to me means being active in the community and doing whatever you can to help your neighbor. You gotta stand up.
Wow, that's a different perspective of freedom, because you're not relating it more from a musical standpoint, but from an actual social standpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
And what
you
is,
can be that way in your music too. I like to think of myself as being very free with what I do.
and then you mentioned too that because the song's origins was dated like years prior to what's currently happened. So
It was the message that got me.
there was the message. So
And
how
it'll
did
never
you?
be old. It'll never be old.
I was going to ask you, how were you able to tie that message into current, and do you think that same message will still hold its own, like,
Absolutely.
6 years, 20 years from now?
Absolutely. Because the message really is the same. You know, don't just complain.
Right,
Go and change it up.
right.
If you want to see change, change it up. You got to shake things up to make a difference. And not just, in a political way, but in your own house. You're tired of complaining about the dust. You're tired of your neighbor, making noise. Knock on the door, bring a pie and say hi. Listen,
Right.
let's get to know each other. So
Right,
yeah, I
right.
think it's the message. The words say it all. And those words will never go out of style. They can just change the rhythm, which we did. It's a totally different song than what was presented to me originally on the demo.
Oh man, so we won't get to hear the demo version? Is that can that
No,
be,
no,
that
no,
can't
no.
be part of the deluxe
That-
package?
No, well, that part to me was the music was great, but it wasn't speaking to me the way I
Right.
was hearing it. And I also wanted to I was trying to decide between adding a rap artist, or I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. But then I'm a big fan of Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, and he's always saying, you got to stand up. And so my producer and I went through and found excerpts of him saying the very things that the lyrics of the song already stated.
Oh,
And we
that's
put
hip.
those in there just to remind people, hey, got to stand up.
Oh man, that is hip. That's a cool backstory because I would have not known that. Like, taking that theme from a senator and pushing it into the message. So that's a great segue. All right,
And it wasn't just about him. Particularly, it's again the message.
the message.
The message.
I get that. So everybody, make sure if you're about something and you feel strongly about something and then you really believe in it wholeheartedly, stand up. Stand up.
Do something about it.
Like literally stand up. So now let me go to the next song for the next keyword, life. Now you chose a woman that we were just speaking about who we both love dearly, Miss Nancy Wilson, and you chose Make Someone Happy. Now, how is this particular song in relation to life, and how is it relatable to you?
If you go through life always angry and mad, and you're only thinking about what serves you, what a horrible, pitiful life, what a pitiful existence you're going to have.
Right.
But when you can step out of yourself and whatever is troubling you, again, and help somebody else, make somebody smile, make their day, bless their day in whatever way possible. It doesn't have to be anything big. If you make just one person happy, it makes your day. I mean, think about when somebody does something really nice for you that you didn't expect.
Right.
The rest of your day, you're just thinking, hey,
Yeah,
this is
good.
cool. All right, I got. So
Yeah.
that's what that is about to me. And I try to live my life that way. I want to be of benefit to someone else. And it takes me back to when I was growing up, and I told you my sister had us singing in the convalescent homes and hospitals.
Right.
Watching those happy faces, that was it. That was everything. And I'm still trying to do that now.
Well, you do a fantastic job with making people smile. Because just from our conversation and just the dialogue we've had this evening, I feel comfortable. Right? I'm cool. I try to
my
make
job is complete.
Yeah, I try to go through the day making people smile and laugh, but usually I'm pissing off students because they're mad at me for telling them you get an F, and they're like, oh.
Well, they shouldn't be mad at you. Work. Again, if they stand up and do what they're supposed to do.
Oh, there you go.
Everybody's happy.
So let me ask you real quickly before I get to the last one. What about this song that speaks to you and makes it you feel like the words or the way that Nancy Wilson presented it, like you're just like, oh my God, I feel this is exactly how I feel like when I'm like the way you just described it to me. Like, was it something about the lyric or the song itself that made it feel like, you know what, this represents kind of like what I stand for in life?
For me, it starts with the lyric. I often will love a melody as well, but it starts with the lyric. If it's something I would say or I would think and it sounds like me, it feels like me, that's all I need. And then to have Nancy Wilson just soar over that tune, I loved it. In fact, the very first Nancy Wilson album I bought, a friend of mine took me to see her sing. I had heard of her, but I didn't really know her, of her. I was 21 years old, something like that. And I went to this club in Denver called The Warehouse. This woman stepped out on stage and just blew me away. I'd never seen anything like that, because it was the way, not only that she carried herself, it was how she talked between the songs. She would set them up so you felt like she was talking directly to you. And so I was just so blown away by this whole thing. I immediately had to find an album, but this is when we had albums.
Right.
And I, didn't have a whole lot of money back then. And so I was at a thrift store, or, they had used albums. And for $1, I got Nancy Wilson, Broadway, My Way. that song is on that album. And
Okay.
I just said, okay, sounds like a mantra to me. Make someone happy.
Man, I have a great. So when I did the show with Carmen, and we were just going through some of the literature, and we ended up picking a song off of the Cannonball record that she did with Cannonball Adderley, and it was the song "Never Will I Marry,"
Oh, yes.
and I had, I've listened to that album a few times, like it just as novice, like just listening to it, just as a casual listening, but particularly when we played it for the Gen at the Gen conference, and that song, the way she sung the lyrics,
Yes.
and I had to go. I had Google in my hotel room. I was sitting like just like the night before I was playing it with Carmen, because I'm just you do this too. We sit in our rooms. We're going through the set list.
Right.
We're trying to, and I got to that song, and I like really started listening to the
Yes.
lyrics, and then I listened to how her tone is,
Yes. Yes.
how she's phrasing,
Yes.
and I just kept catching myself like singing it. So I was on stage.
Because you got the story. You understood
Yeah.
what the song was about.
Exactly.
Because of the way she phrased it.
Yeah, and it was just like, dang, this is deep. So it made me I played the song for my wife, and she said, "Why are you playing me this?" And I was like, don't listen to the lyrics for a second. Just listen to Nancy sing the song. And she's like, she did this, and I was like, "What is that?" She's like, "Well, I just listened to how she sung it, and it just makes me feel, And then that was the first time I noticed that why I hear when people say singers make me feel a good singer makes me uncomfortable, because it's the way that they sing in it, the way it makes your body feel when you absorb it, and that's what I felt, or that's what I always feel like every single time I hear Nancy Wilson sing.
Yes.
Like, it makes me feel that
Yes.
way. Like, man, like, how
Makes
do you
feel something?
Yes.
That's what it is. That's what it's about.
Just on a side note, before we get to the last song, what's your top 3 Nancy Wilson selections? If you had to tell our audience,
gosh.
here are 3 selections you should check out by Nancy Wilson. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No. It's just that there's so many.
Right.
You Can Have Him. I Don't Want Him. Have you heard her sing that?
I don't.
You
Anything you
must.
throw at me now, I'm gonna check it out. So,
I mean, she puts her heart into this song, and you feel like you rooting for her. Just the little, those little sighs and the things that she does. Absolutely, that I love.
Wow.
Okay, Lush Life, the way she sings Lush Life.
Ooh, anybody that sings "Lush Life" is
Yeah,
yeah.
but this arrangement is just killer.
Okay.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I guess the last one might be, it's right on the tip of my tongue. May I Come In?
Oh wow, that's a
Yes.
great one. Yes. I got put on in that one too, my car. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Wow, I would not thought you would call that.
Oh
song.
man,
That's cool.
she's the reason I sang it.
Wow.
Years ago, I thought, okay.
Yeah. Oh man, that's dang. I was expecting that one to come. That's a good one.
Surprise.
Well, the kind of segue into the last one. I don't even know how I can follow up with that one. The last word is perseverance, and right now we are trying to do that as a country, which our now elected president said that we need to unify. We need to unify together as one, and I love this next artist that you chose, Mr. Donny Hathaway, who is to me the king of soul music. When you think
Yes.
of the genre soul music, which was why I had to expand upon the requirements of picking the songs, because everybody kept picking Donny Hathaway, which would make sense because he's a soul
Donny.
king. I mean, it was either out of him or Marvin. I was like, okay, I gotta switch this up because the audience is gonna be like, we're hearing the same guys. But Only one other guest who is a dear close friend of mine is a trumpeter named James Suggs. He was actually my first guest on the show, and his first selection he chose was this particular song, "Someday We'll All Be Free" by Donny
And
Hathaway.
it's true. You notice a theme here in the
Yeah,
songs that I
yeah.
selected.
I
The first time I heard this album, I was in college. I was in my senior year of college. I wore that thing out because the message was, again, for me, it's about messages, how I want to live my life.
right,
Just hang on to the world while it spins around. You got to just be patient. But while you're being patient, you got to have good intentions about how you want to see things to change.
right, right. And I listened to this song the other day, just because I listen to a lot of Donny Hathaway, and
Me
plus
too.
it's getting Christmas, it's getting close to Christmas time, and I like his Christmas album.
Me
So
too.
I play that every year at home, and my kids now are they're hip to Mr. Donny Hathaway,
I
um,
love it.
but.
Good father. You're a good
Oh,
dad.
well, I gotta educate them on the class. My daughter can sing the entire Hollywood Swinging. She can sing the entire song, lyric from lyric. She can hit the baby man. She can hit all that. Oh yeah, she
How old
loves
is
that
she?
song. She just turned 5
Oh, I
yesterday.
love it. Oh,
Yes.
happy birthday. Scorpio.
Yeah.
I'm a Scorpio too. So
And all kind of personality. But Donny had we was listening to this song, and I kept thinking to myself, like, if this song was played in April, I wouldn't feel that way. If this song was played back in August, I still wouldn't feel that way.
Really?
But I'll make it brief why I feel that way, because there was so much injustice that was happening, like social injustice. We're not talking
Right.
about economical injustice or radical or racial
Right.
injustice. We're talking about social injustice. So much of it was happening that it was making me feel lifeless for a long time and hopeless,
All
because
of
I'm
us.
like, man, like I thought this was the land of the free, and this is 2020, and we went through the civil rights movement. We went through we addressed all of these. Why are we still having this conversation?
Because
Like,
it took getting all this stuff happening to wake people up to see, look,
yeah,
this is just because it's not, you don't see it in your neighborhood. You need to see what we have to deal with every day,
right, right,
every day. And people are, because of social media and because everybody's got a phone, we're able to see all this stuff and address it in a different way.
sure,
But yeah,
sure.
we all felt the same way you did.
And
What's the point?
yeah, what's the point? And this was also for me, it was hard for me to accept certain attributes that were happening, and how the government and our, I would say, our chain of commands were handling all of this. And so when you listen to the lyrics of this song, "Someday We'll All Be Free," like, Donnie was talking from a different place, because a lot of for the audience that's watching, you got to think, like, his music was, at least at his prime before he passed away. This was right in the midst of Vietnam. This was right at the midst of the scandal coming out of, in our president with Nixon. This is all we had. So much. We had the feminist movement that was happening in the mid '60s. We had the socialist movement, where all of the folks from California and the West Coast who were living this free life, that they did also were not feeling free. So so this song particular just was way beyond its time.
Oh,
Even
definitely.
Marvin Gaye's record, that album he came that it was way beyond its time. So my last question for you is, when you selected this song, what were you feeling in the moment? Like, when you were thinking about this, when you were thinking about, what were you feeling, and what were you thinking about when you selected this song particularly?
That is my go-to song whenever I'm feeling hopeless, helpless, tired, and we've been barraged with all kinds of bad news this year. And this is the song that just kind of, I'll put it on and just listen. It's almost like a meditation. So
Yeah.
what it does for me is just kind of helps me feel like there will be some peace at some point. We just have to persevere. Just got to hang in there.
And what do you think that? How do you feel about the outcome of everything that has happened with this election? And not that we have to get really deep into that.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
just
and I
what do
won't.
you?
I
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
I think like everybody else, I felt a sense of relief, like a weight had been taken off.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yeah.
as each day goes on, I think, well, the work is just starting. Just because we have different people taking over an administration, we
Right.
still got a lot of work to do
Mm-hmm.
that will help all Americans, not just a few,
Sure.
not
Sure.
just a couple. And it's not just one issue. There are a lot of things that have to be addressed, and we have to be open and willing to listen and offer solutions instead of, again, being part of the problem.
They said that I was watching, my wife and I were watching CNN last night, and they
Mhm.
mentioned how this was the highest voting from youth
Yes,
ever in the existence of our entire country,
yes.
of our democratic system.
Hmm.
That that so many young people who were at like between the ages of 18 to 25
Hmm.
actually went and voted, took the time to actually say that, okay, I'm going to express my right, and I'm going to exercise my rights
Hmm.
to do this. And so are you, how do you feel about that? Are you
I
proud to?
love it. Yes. And again, I think because we're living in a different time, there's a lot of technology and social media. It's easy for people now to connect with each other and say, hey, listen, check this out, read about this
Hmm.
candidate, learn about this issue, and come on now, vote. So I think that helped, having social media and all this great technology that we have. I think
Okay.
people are just tired. They want something different. They're
They
tired.
are, yeah, man, and we are
Not tired,
tired.
tired.
We are tired of being tired, to telling people that we are tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of. But well, let me ask you this, Clairdee. I want you to give us one final thought, and then we actually have a question from an audience member that had a very specific question. But any final thoughts? I like to let my guests give a couple of final thoughts to kind of wrap it up, and then we'll jump into the questionnaire part.
I guess for me, it's just let's all try and listen better and get out of our own stuff and try to offer some civil discourse and
Hmm.
some love and how we can be a benefit to the next person. I know I sound like a
That's me.
broken record, but
What? Nah, you nah. Speak that truth. Speak that
this
truth.
is this is what we each need to do is actually care about somebody else other than
That's good.
ourselves.
That's good. That's good. I like that. And so I have we wanna ask her questions here. Let me see who we gotta come. Adam is sending them to me in the chat box. Okay, here we go. Denny Klein. I hope I said his.
Hey,
I think you. I don't know if you guys know each other, but he said, when can we look forward to a Nancy Wilson tribute album? And then he put it's been a while in quotations, like 30 years plus since I first heard you do Save Your Love for Me. So
well, Denny, hi. And I love Denny. He's been such a wonderful friend and music supporter for ever since I first arrived in the Bay Area.
oh wow.
Yes. And let's see, as far as doing a Nancy Wilson album, I probably won't because I have a friend who's going to be doing that.
Ah.
A friend who's going to be doing that. We do have a Nancy Wilson show that we've done, and we incorporated different elements where you could actually hear Nancy talking. You
Mm-hmm.
could hear John Levy, our manager, talking. But I will always love and respect Miss Wilson. She's like the other mama. But I don't know if I'll be doing an album.
Okay. Well, I was kind of with Denny on that one. I was hoping, like, is this gonna happen? This would be
I think the
awesome.
next album I do will be another one that's just me,
Just
and not just a tribute. Because after a while, you become known as the tribute artist,
the tribute.
always
Oh,
singing other
yeah,
people's stuff.
but never John.
Yeah.
I got it.
And so
Well,
this is the
Denny,
fourth album. So,
she's gonna bless you with more music, brother. But for right now,
I'll
we
do
want to
something personal for Denny.
get,
I'll just record
yeah.
something, send it to him.
And if Denny, if you're still watching, what you could do in the meantime is check out this A Love Letter to Lena
Oh,
Horne
he's
record.
got it.
Oh, he's already got it.
He's got
Okay, cool. Then you already on top of it. Good job, man. We got more questions coming in.
Oh,
Another
great.
one from our lovely sister, Miss Carmen Bradford. Hi, Carmen.
Hey,
She told me to tell you hello.
hi, Carmen.
She asked, how is it? How do you like teaching at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music? How you like that gig?
It's great, because it's not overwhelming. It's not like, we've got to be there every day, but we're very consistent about how we work with the students. And we
Sure.
got some really good students. And Carmen, she and I, okay, we like,
Oh, I can't. That's why I talked to you about possibly doing something
yeah,
at my school.
that
I
would
would
be
love to
fun.
have you two come in and just they look at me like, Professor, are you don't worry about that. Yeah, we go back. We go back.
No, I enjoyed, and it's a great faculty at the conservatory as well. So yeah, I love it. Love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
And just real quickly, is it just you two or is
As
there
far
other
as voice, yes.
voice? Okay, okay.
Jazz voice
Okay.
is
All right.
Miss Carmen, who's the chair of the department, and me.
Well, I'm gonna tell all the students or folks who are watching, maybe from that area, bless y'all. Y'all are so blessed. Man, can you imagine if I was able to
We
get
feel
up with
pretty
these two?
lucky too.
If can you imagine if I was able to hang with you guys on a regular basis? Like I would just be
Yeah,
like in heaven. I would love that. So
let's do it.
well, we got one more. Looks like we got one more question in from James Brooks. How does one
Hi,
learn
James.
to be yourself singing? How does one learn to be yourself singing? That was his question.
To me, the main thing is you got to live a life first. First thing you do is we automatically learn to mimic others.
Hmm.
And we take the best of this and the best of that, the things that resonate with us most,
Hmm.
and we mix it all up. And pretty soon, you're thinking about your life and how this song affects you and how you can sing it differently. But it's mostly you start off mimicking, but then just listening and finding what the song means to you, and everybody's got a different interpretation, but trust your intuition. I hope that answered the question.
Um, uh, uh, I'm gonna hopefully I say her name right. Demetra Jones. I hope I said your
Hey,
name
that's
right.
my niece
Okay.
Demetra.
I hope I said your name right. So hi Demetra and I thank you for
Hey,
tuning in.
Demetra.
She asked when you start on the next one after such a great release. When are you gonna she's asking when are you gonna start on your next record?
I
I see
wish I
I
could
did.
do it now. I love being in the studio. I love it. And we've got some new singles that we're working on that'll come out before that. But it'll be won't take as long. It won't take another 3 years, but well, I don't know. Soon. Thanks for asking.
Well, I will just put it out there like I've done with every single guest that's coming to the show. If you ever need a bass player,
I got your number. I got your
I just
email.
thought I'd put it out there. just
Yeah,
shameless plug.
that would be fun to do something together.
Well, I do
Really?
want to. I do want to end one. I have one last question,
Okay.
and then I want to bring it, and then we're gonna bring it home. But I'm
Okay.
one last
Wow,
question.
this has gone so fast.
Well, it's because
Good time.
I hate it when you have such a good time and then you come to the like, oh really? It's already, you know. I hate those conversations where it's like you're doing this a lot.
Are we still talking? Like really?
Ain't happening. Okay. Wrap it up. But what keeps you going in terms of singing? Like what is the thing that gets you up every morning? You're like, have to keep doing this, you know. And I ask that because just from talking to you, you have such a vibrant and voracious spirit. It's like
Thank you.
I sense that, so it's very inspiring. So I'm just curious, like, what is it that gets you going and keeps you motivated to say, you know what, through this pandemic, through the lack of, you know, being around real musicians, you know, to being isolated in quarantine, like, what's keeping me grounded in it?
Gratitude.
Wow, gratitude. Okay.
When you think
Like
about what you already have and not what you don't have, changes everything. I'm grateful for the time I have now to work on some things that I have not had a chance to do. I'm grateful for good health. I don't have COVID, or you know what I mean? I'm just the little things. Gratitude. Have a wonderful family who's loving, and you know, I have no reason to ever complain. And I sing. I can't not sing. My husband, I'm sure sometimes he's going, oh gosh, I wish he'd. I'm just constantly singing, and there's always music going on in my head, and I have a little notebook that I keep that I write down ideas. Oh, you know, you were talking earlier about how you got this rhythm from Shaka Khan and put it here. I do that all the time.
Oh man,
it's great.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
So it's gratitude. That's my answer.
Well, Clairdee, thank you so much for doing this interview. Like, I've not only enjoyed myself this evening, but I'm kind of sad that we've come to the end of this interview.
That's okay. We'll just get people off and we'll just keep talking. No,
we're just not gonna.
Just kidding.
Man, I would have to say I learned so much from talking to you as a person, as a musician, someone who is very caring about life and others, and then also just attuned to like who you are as an individual. And that's something, man. Like, you get that as over time when you get older,
right.
and I'm not saying getting older, but just as you're getting wiser and you're maturing through life, and you learn things about yourself, you discover things about yourself. And
absolutely,
you know, I'm about to hit in my mid 30 point, and I'm already thinking like, wow, in you know, 34 years I've seen so much happen, but I've also experienced in the last 5 years what like adult life is really like, you know, like when when it really hits you, when like, dang, I got responsibility. I have kids, I have a wife,
you have kids, that changes everything.
Everything. It does.
Like,
until you have kids, it's like, man, it changes everything.
No longer think about just what you want to do.
So I like that you summed that up with gratitude, because I really think in 2020, I think that's what we all need right now. It's just a little bit of gratitude, being very grateful for like our lives. So many celebrities and people who unexpectedly passed away that we did not expect that to happen.
Right.
Having just a little bit of gratitude, of being appreciative of, you know, I always tell my students every morning, or when in my music appreciation class, I start the class off by saying, everybody just take the time to think, just be thankful that you're here.
And what an opportunity to study music. Really? Come on.
Right.
This is awesome.
Exactly. So, man, thank you again. Thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful time. Everybody else who's watched, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. Next week, I have my lovely close friend, Bassist, who is killing the game right now, Miss Amina Scott.
Hey.
She's a close friend of mine that I went to school with, and she has, man, she is holding it down in the music industry. So I am super excited to interview her next week. So please make sure you tune in. Miss Clairdee, you are a friend for life, so we will definitely stay in touch. And I definitely want to just pick your brain a little more.
Absolutely.
Not just music stuff, just about just experiences, and
I'm happy to
just
share.
in general. So
that's what I do.
And, I like that.
That's what we should all do.
And everybody, please make sure you support her latest project, a love letter to Lena Horne. I think it's already been casted for in the Grammy. In the category.
We'll see. I'm grateful, and we'll see
So
if it moves on to the next.
where can they vote? Because I know they can go online and vote.
Oh, this is only for
for
Academy
members. That's
yes,
right.
But if they would like to purchase the album, it's available on all
Yeah.
platforms. They can even go to my website and learn more about me, hear the music, and if you want to buy it, you can buy it from me too.
Please,
Apple
yes.
has enough money.
Yes, support the artist directly. So everybody have a wonderful evening. I enjoyed this segment. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. And make sure to wear your mask. Okay. Talk to y'all later. I'll see y'all next week. Later.